Creating a cactus using value and texture. Remember your name and teacher code on the back. Check that your paper is facing the correct direction, and then about 3 fingers from the bottom of your paper, you will draw a slightly wavy line. And then you'll create the middle part of your cactus by creating kind of a skinny rainbow shape. So this shape should be, the middle of your cactus shape should be about 3 to 4 fingers wide. You do not want the parts of your cactus to be small because painting will become difficult. For the arms, you start with kind of a J shape, and then that rainbow shape again that kind of swoops around back to the center part of the cactus. And on the opposite side, you will create kind of an L shape. Notice how large I drew the arms on my cactus. Next, you will add the lines on your cactus, and you're going to find the middle of each part of your cactus, and you're going to draw 2 lines that kind of go down each side. So you'll end up dividing it into 3 sections. You really don't want more than 3 sections. And you don't want any of your areas to be super tiny, as that will make painting very challenging. So repeat the same process on your arms as well as the center of your cactus. Next, we will imagine that there's light coming from the left of our cactus, so we will draw 2 slanted lines for the shadow. Then you'll decide, do you want to use cool colors, or do you want to use warm colors for your background? For this, make sure that you're wetting down your paint first, and to get this kind of tie-dye appearance, make sure that you're adding a little puddle of water to your paper and then applying the already stirred paint and just patting your brush around on your paper. Once again, adding a little puddle, grabbing your already ready to go paint there, it's all like watered down and ready to go. And just pat your brush. Make sure that you're overlapping your pencil lines a little bit so that you don't have a white space that appears when you're ready to go to the next step. If you found that you have some puddles that are a little stubborn, use a bit of paper towel to soak those up before placing it on the drying rack. Then also, to do the shadow, you want to really stir your black paint, get that nice and ready. And I didn't add any water to my paper doing the shadow, but when I do around my shadow, I'm just going to slightly rinse my brush to do on either side of the shadow. So right here, I give it a quick dunk in my water to kind of water the black down a little bit on my brush, and I spread out the remaining paint that is on my brush. If you notice it's not quite dark enough where the shadow is, that's okay. You can always add crayon coloring later. Next, we will practice creating value, and we're actually going to make tints of green to do this. So when you add white to a color, you're making a tint. You do have different brushes to choose from. Remember that the light is coming from the left. That's why our shadow is where it is. Also, we're going to create the darker side of our cactus where the light is not hitting. And we're just kind of using our imagination for that idea. When you add the paint, you're just using kind of the tip of your brush, and you're picking up your brush every time you make a new brush stroke. You're not scribbling back and forth. You're dunking your brush, and you're kind of pulling that paint to the places you want, staying in the lines as best as you can. Before you begin making your first tint of green, you're going to rinse and dry your brush very thoroughly. That way it keeps the paints nice for yourself, and it keeps the paints nice for other classes that use them. Then you'll grab a little blob of each color, kind of turn your brush to scrape it off. Try and keep it in a small area so you're not spreading it all out and losing it all on your placemat. Then rinse your brush again to grab the next color. Don't forget to dry it as well, because this will thin out your paint if you have water on your brush. So to start, you want to just add a little bit of white and kind of make a slight change. So we have the dark green on there, and this color is going to go in the middle area. And if you start painting gently and you notice when you paint it right next to that dark green, if it doesn't look like it's quite light enough, you can always go and add more white. But you can't take the white out, so it is best to add a small amount at a time to make sure you're happy with the color. And then you will repeat the same process for the final section of your cactus, rinsing your brush and drying it well, and then you'll add more white to that green you've created to get an even lighter tint of green. So it should go from darkest to lightest. Finally, using a black crayon, you will outline all the lines that were once pencil. Remember, you can always use a sharpener if your crayon gets a little dull. When you do this, you may need to kind of go back and forth to make sure your lines are nice and bold. And you're going around your entire cactus and doing the lines that are on the inside of your cactus. If your shadow didn't turn out dark enough, you can always use your black crayon to shade it in. You don't have to push too hard when you do this, just make it a little darker in appearance. Then you'll add your little picker lines, so they're just kind of dashed lines that you randomly add all over the surface of your cactus. And then as a final step, add the little flower blossoms on the very top of each part of your cactus.